Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Manning.
And I'm Trinity French.
And we are your business coaches at Wired to Change.
With the number 2.
We help you get your business to the level you want it to be so you can enjoy the life of a small business owner.
All the freedom, Mike. Give me all the freedom.
Oh, I can take every Friday off. Let's go to Europe next month, even though I just started my business.
There's going to be so much money rolling in. It's just going to roll in. All these clients are just going to magically find me.
Once I tell people I'm doing this, phone be ringing off the hook.
Off the hook.
Yeah. Wrong.
Wah. Wah, wah.
Maybe 1 in 25,000, maybe, but not you. Not whoever's listening. It's not you. So yeah.
But you know what? As business coaches, the two of us put our minds together, and we can help people get there because it is a realistic dream. You just have to take the right steps to make it.
And Thursdays are my favorite day because we have coaching clients in the morning.
Yep.
We have B&I at noon, and then we tape the podcast at 3. It's my favorite day. And we'll get to Christine here in a second on this, just the joy you talked about earlier. When we're like working with our client this morning and we're talking about things that we know a lot of things, we just forget to remember it and know that we're supposed to do that. So I'm not holding anything against them. But you just talk about that one simple thing and they go, this is so good, thank you. And you're like, oh, I just want to melt.
It feels so good.
I love it. Yeah.
When we asked our client this morning, because we like to, our friend Larice, who is a voice and talent coach, I guess you would call her. She gave us a really good thing that we do now at the end of each of our coaching sessions, which is we ask, what are your top 3 takeaways from the session? And our client this morning was just glowing, and the things that she said were not what I had expected. And I was like, man, I'm just so glad we asked that question because I wouldn't have known otherwise.
We got 5.
Yeah, we did get 5.
This was a good one with her.
It was really good. And it was about one of our favorite topics.
Oh, yes.
Procrastination.
Yes.
So
we nipped that in the bud fast.
We did. We did.
But with some common sense strategies to get out of that hole. So, yeah. I was very pleased.
But what we're here for today is that my phone?
I think
that's your dun 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 dun.
Well,
Mike, it's Mike.
Oh,
Mike is the one that's in trouble.
For B&I. What if I got a referral? I don't make it a 1-to-1. Give me a referral. I want some business. Go on with your business. I'll just take care of mine.
You gonna make fun of me for being on my phone? I'm gonna make fun of you.
I don't think the buzzes on my phone make as much money as the buzzes on your phone. Just a hunch.
Well, we are here with a very, 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 very special guest, Miss Christine. Do you go by Christine or Tina? Because I know that you have Tina in your email address.
So I go by Christine now, but yeah. So I grew up, I've always been called Tina, but it's like this thing where when I started my business, I thought I had to use like my legal name, and I was afraid of the DOI, and so I just launched my business as Christine, and so everyone I've met for the last 3 years calls me Christine.
Wait, you had a DUI?
No, DOI, Department of Insurance. Mike, don't say that.
You're from the north. I can't understand everything.
I've never had a DUI.
Yes.
I've never had a DUI.
Oh, you're looking at me like you don't know what that is.
I always say, I was going to mix up the letters. Mixing up the letters.
The reason I ask you about whether you go by Tina or not is because I love when people have a nickname that's derivative of their name, but from like the end of their name. So
mine's not really.
It's not because it's Christine.
No, mine's a huge issue.
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing too, is because Google, like, I didn't know this for the longest time, but like Google knew me as Tina, and apparently like it identified me as Tina Walorz. So anytime I was emailing someone as Christine, and you know they've met me as Christine, I emailed them as Christine, I signed the email as Christine, they'd be like, "Hi Tina," when they replied, and I'd be like, "What the heck?" So it took me the longest time to find out that I had to change Google so it says "Hi Christine" and it calls me Christine. But yeah, people ask me all the time, and I just feel like if I go back to Tina, it would just be way too confusing.
Yeah,
I don't know. So I'm really a Tina at heart.
Did you go through high school as Tina?
Well, everything. Only the people that have met me in the last 3 years call me Christine.
My goal is to get to the Tina friendship phase. Like at some point, I want it to be like, oh, I'm having coffee with Tina today, because I feel like that's when I'll know I've made it.
So I actually think about that, and I feel like I kind of feel a little bit like a fraud, because I have made some really good friends since like quitting my job and being in the real world now. And like I really truly have some good friends, and they call me Christine because they know me as Christine and met me as Christine. And so I worry, like, I have this dialogue in my head, like, should I tell them to call me Tina? What would they think if I told them to call me Tina? And I just have to get used to them calling me Christine. So it's a struggle.
I've got a friend from a previous life has a long first name like yours, but I knew her as the shortened name, not the end of it, but the natural short name of it, long before she started working for this company. And so when I ran across her one day in the company, and they said, "Hey, so and so," using her full name. I'm like, "Who's that?"
Right. Well, I had a brief moment in time where I was like, okay, Trinity. Almost everyone calls me Trin, which is just the natural. So I was like, screw that. I want everyone to call me Itty. Like,
God.
Oh my God.
No, you don't.
Like itty bitty Trinity.
No, you don't.
Like Itty,
That
like
is-
Trinity, Itty.
no.
So I was like, if people can go by Tina, why can't I go by
No,
Itty?
that's
You are no
wrong.
part of that.
I thought it was a good idea for a hot second.
No.
It did not stick. Nobody called me that.
No, and I would not want to
in
call
my-
you that.
But in my
at all.
mind,
They should
always
have
wanted
just to
a
show you how
name.
ridiculous it was.
but it would have catched on like wildfire.
No. No.
Yeah.
And then I would have never been able to unidiize myself.
No, you'd had to move like Christine did.
Trinity, that's a really not good nickname.
No, it's not. But
I'm so glad that didn't
Yeah.
stick. No. But do people call you T?
people call me T.
Yeah,
people
me
call me
too.
Trin. People
Yeah.
call me Trifactor. I have
cute.
all sorts of nicknames.
Yeah.
Queenie,
Yeah.
the Badger, Honey Badger.
Okay.
Yeah.
Phew, I opened up a can
A
of
lot.
worms. I'm sorry,
Yes.
Mike.
But
No, but
Let's
yeah,
get
but
on to life
But
insurance.
you know,
Yes.
when people have made it in your inner circle, when they know your nicknames and respond to that. Tina. So anyways,
Okay.
Tina.
No, you're going to confuse the whole world.
Okay, whole world. Christine.
Yes. Okay.
Walorz,
Walorz.
First
who
world
owns
problem you
Walorz
got.
Insurance. You are a life
Walorz.
insurance agent.
Life. Yep.
And you have I didn't know you had 3 kids.
I didn't know I had an ooh even in my life.
I didn't know you had 3 kids.
Yeah, but they're not really kids.
How old are they?
So my oldest is 21 and he's going into the Navy in
Cool.
3 months.
Wow, congratulations and thank you.
And yeah, he signed up without me knowing while I was up in Boston moving my dad to North Carolina. But anyways, so he is 21 and then I have an 18-year-old who is just about to be 19 in like 2 weeks. And then I have a 15-year-old.
Boy or
There's
girl.
no way you're old enough
Boy,
to have
boy,
these
girl.
children.
I know. I started having them when I was very, very, very young.
Like 4.
I usually say like 12.
You have a
Yeah.
15-year-old daughter?
Yeah.
Oh, how's that relationship?
Today I was grateful for her. She was cool today. She hung out on my bed while I was working, and that's like that someone's taking a picture right
Don't
now.
look at the
Yeah.
camera.
But anyways, yeah, she's cool. She's not as cool as I want her to be. Like she doesn't like the same things I like. So she's
That
cool in
could-
her own world, but
Jeez.
That could change.
I hope so because
It
I
probably
always wanted
will.
a girl.
Because when I was a teenager, I remember thinking my mom wasn't that cool.
yeah.
And now
I'm not
I talk to
cool.
my mom as much as possible. And
Cool mom.
she's
So
there's
one of my
hope.
best friends.
There's
Yes.
hope. There's
oh, absolutely.
hope. I totally
was
want her
a
to be my best
terrible
friend.
teenager. Like,
Oh.
I really hope if I have a child one day that I don't get one like me.
She's not like that. She's a homebody. No, I love her like crazy. And I think it's just that like I want it too much. Like, oh, I want you to do this with me. And no, let's do that. Let's do our hair. Let's do our nails. And she's like, oh my God, please, Mom, give me my space. So that's all right. That's all right. I got my girl. I'll take what I can get when she'll give it to
Yes.
me. I'm happy with that.
Well, and that will change as she gets older and finally realizes how important it is to have a mom that you can be friends with.
Yay. I'll tell her you said so.
Tough segue going
Okay.
from mother-daughter to real life insurance and everything. So, and your daughter will come around. So I agree with that. Business owners, rarely is it talked about the value of life insurance when it comes to a small business owner. That's, I don't know that hardly ever comes up, Trinity.
Because there's no
To
HR
protect her.
department telling you to get life insurance.
Yeah.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
But what it can do for you, priceless.
Well, and I think about all the people who are 1099s, independent contractors, small business owners, all of these people that do not have coverage through work. And you might have coverage that's great through one job, and you might leave that job and have not so great coverage, and now you're no longer insurable.
Oh, dear Lord. So you
Did I just open a can of worms?
Can I talk? Can I address this?
Oh, yeah.
So
peel back that onion.
It drives, it keeps me up at night that I network, right? I network a lot, and I'm surrounded by people who I know a majority of them probably don't have good life insurance or have life insurance. And it kills me because I don't want to be that person that is, pouncing on everyone, like, let me write your life insurance. Hey, who's your life insurance agent? Like, I'm not there to sell myself, right? I'm there to help nurture relationships, right? When I'm at my networking group, I feel like mother hen, and I'm introducing people and I'm welcoming new people and I'm trying to put people together. I'm not thinking about my business at all when I'm there. But then when I stop and think about all my people and I worry about them, the real estate agents, right? Like everybody, like you said, all the 1099ers, it really does keep me up at night because I want to literally call everyone I've ever networked with and be like, listen, just tell me, do you need life insurance? Because I'll help you. Let me help you because you need it. Right. But I don't do that, right? I'm there if they need me, if they want me. But you mentioned...
But how terrible would you feel about those people you didn't call?
Terrible. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm just going to tell everyone I've ever met in networking now to expect a phone call from me in the next 2 weeks because Trinity just made me feel guilty.
But you can feel bad
but
for
that
them.
Is where you take something that it's no longer a sales call. It's this is something that's really, really important. And it's just a question. And people don't have to buy it.
True. But they don't have to buy it from me.
But a lot of times it's just that they don't know or they know and they just haven't acted on it.
Well, true. There's a lot of reasons people don't do it. But you mentioned about how people, have work insurance, right? And they might not have great work insurance. Right. Okay, so I can't let that go by without addressing it. So it's great to have work insurance, but that's just a bonus. It's good if you have life insurance at work, but you still have to own your own life insurance, right? More people today than ever before have life insurance. Yay. Problem is, most of it is through work. Boo. Okay, because when we leave a job, lose a job disappears, we get too sick to work, we head into retirement, that work insurance is gone. And most work insurance is not sufficient, money-wise. If you really did die, 1 or 2 times your salary is not going to protect your family's lifestyle for the next 10 years while your kids grow up. Your family is still screwed. They're not as screwed, but they're still screwed. So people that just have life insurance through work, they need to realize they need their own life insurance. If they have life insurance through their spouse's job, right? They really need life insurance. And then just if they're on their own, they're an entrepreneur. Like Mike said, a lot of people don't think about, they need their own life insurance.
And I didn't really notice or realize that till probably the last couple of years. That it all started. I had a conversation with somebody, and let's just try to use you and Scott. If something happens to you tomorrow, he's not going to become a realtor. There's no business for him to take. No. He could, but there's really no business to sell.
He would hate it.
Right. He would hate it. There's really no business to sell. Nope. Right. So all of a sudden he's out your income.
True.
Yeah. True. But luckily I'm very well protected, and he'd probably be better off if I...
You're worth more dead than alive, right? To coin a phrase.
And Tina and I were talking about this the other day on the phone.
Christine.
The spouse, A, might not want the business.
Right.
And B, your partner may not want your spouse as his or her new partner.
Right. Absolutely.
I'm sure those have gone sideways in a hurry.
So that's really important. And I actually, I taught a little class on this to... a business class at Wake Tech as a guest speaker about, what does life insurance look like when you're a business owner? And it's really important to understand if you're in a partnership with someone, right? First of all, the lawyers hopefully will love me for saying this. You should have a buy-sell agreement if you have partners, right? And a great way to fund a buy-sell agreement is through life insurance because it's affordable, okay? So if you two had... a physical business, a brick and mortar even, right? Something that needed to keep going if one of you were to die, right? If you don't have a buy-sell agreement, you die and it passes on to Scott. And Scott's like, maybe it's a construction company. Well, I don't know, whatever, and he knows nothing about the business and doesn't want it. So what happens? Well, he can make Mike's life hell trying to be in the business. So what does Mike want to do? Mike wants to buy the business from Scott. But how does Mike come up with the money? Take out a loan, put his part of the business up for collateral, whatever. So if Mike and Scott had life insurance policies on each other, when Scott, God forbid, or let's call him Bob, when Bob dies, Mike gets the life insurance payout, and now Mike can pay you and buy
and buy it out.
Yeah, it's so important.
What kind of brick and mortar business would we own? What do you think? Had to deal with alcohol, probably.
How about pottery?
Oh, geez. You think you hated
pottery and alcohol? It's like ghosts.
Right.
Yeah.
We would have to be some kind
I don't
of
think I would be very
entertainment.
good around a kiln after drinking.
No.
And what's the part that spins around?
It would
right?
involve
the
games
potter's wheel,
and stuff like that. Knowing you, it's like, all right, it's game night here. You got the escape room. You got all that stuff like that.
Oh,
for
yeah.
couples
I
and
would love
friends
to run
do.
an escape
Exactly.
room.
Yeah.
I think that
fun.
would be super fun.
Oh, yeah. And the only way you get to drink is if you get out in time.
Oh, geez.
If you miss a deadline, sorry, drinks are triple the price.
Dang. That is not an escape room I want to go to.
I think we're on to something. So
anyways.
But you're right, though. There's so many things that you can cover yourself for not a lot of money starting out, right?
Yeah, and it really is something that people going into business have to think about. So if they're going into business on their own, and if they were to die and the business would just end, they have to think about how would their family continue on, right? Because there's no more business. If you're gone and your business gone, which many of us have that type of business, then you really have to think about the life insurance and the income protection and maintaining your family's lifestyle. And then if you have partners, you want to make sure that you have, buy-sell agreements, fund it, in my opinion, fund it with life insurance so that you can continue, so that whoever's surviving of the partners can continue that business. Right? Because you figure they both worked so hard for it. They don't want to lose it, and they don't want it to pass on to a spouse that says, forget it, sell it. Because that's the other thing. If it passes on, right, that other person could say, sell it.
Like, to anyone.
Put it up for sale.
Don't care.
Right.
Bye.
Well, imagine if it passes on to their kids.
You had mentioned
right?
that too.
Yeah. So now you've got 3 kids that are, that inherit this business, and now what are they supposed to do?
Or worse, you got a 19-year-old male knucklehead.
I have one of those in my house.
$7 million, half of a $7 million construction company.
Yeah.
And he's surely going to probably screw that up.
So, I mean, there's really a lot to think about as a business owner to make sure you're protecting your family, protecting your partner if you have one.
And you do disability insurance too, right?
I do not do disability insurance.
Not?
No,
okay.
I don't. So I do life insurance, and so disability, I can have that as a rider on a policy, but I don't sell straight disability policies. Okay. But what I do specialize in is plans with living benefits. So without getting into too much technical detail, the policies I specialize in include living benefits, which means they cover chronic, critical, and terminal illnesses or injury. So if, God forbid, you had a heart attack and hopefully live, right, and nowadays you probably would, depending on how severe that heart attack, I said heart attack, not heart attack.
Yeah.
I caught myself. Depending on how severe the heart attack is, the insurance company will offer you some of your death benefit. No strings attached. Okay, it's not a loan. There's no interest. You don't pay it back. This isn't about taking a loan from your life insurance. These are called an acceleration of the death benefit. So you have a heart attack, the insurance company will offer you some of the death benefit. Sure, it lowers the death benefit some. That's fine. You still have some death benefit. Yep. They offer you an acceleration. You accept it. You take that money. It's unrestricted funds. It's received tax-free because it's part of a death benefit. You put it in the bank. Now you can pay your mortgage, pay your business expenses, hire somebody if you need to help out at the business while you're laid up, right? Hire Uber Eats, DoorDash, babysitters, somebody to mow the lawn, use the money for whatever you need. So I help with that. And that is really, really important to me to make sure that I get people life insurance policies that include living benefits.
Do you get many business owners that come to you to set up stuff like this?
No, really no.
That's because business owners don't.
They're too busy thinking about other things.
Yeah, they're trying to make their books right.
Yeah, they're trying to work.
Yeah.
They're trying to run their businesses. And like you said in the very beginning, Mike, like it's not something that entrepreneurs especially, right, or business owners think about when they're setting up their business. And it really should just be something right off the bat. There are people out there, that help with budgeting, right? So you listen to some big radio head who talks about budgeting, and most of them will tell you it's like your mortgage, it's food on your table, it's your insurance, it's keeping the lights on. Like, things go in that order. But that's not even part of your budget. Those are just like, yep, you have to do those things. You don't, insurance really shouldn't be part of your budget. It should be before you budget the rest of your money, because you shouldn't, it shouldn't be something you could consider canceling. And so many people do. I just had somebody this week tell me that, I used to have life insurance, but I canceled it because I needed to free up money in my budget. Oh my God. She wasn't my client, but I was like dying. I hear that on a regular basis.
That money was going to make that much of a difference in her business?
So either she had the wrong plan, or she just doesn't have a good budget, or she's overinsured, right? I would die if I just hope, if any of my clients are listening, if you ever think you need to cancel your life insurance because things are so bad, please reach out to me, because we will just get you a different policy that you can afford, because you should only have the life insurance you can afford. That's what it comes down to. That's why my tagline, it's your needs, it's your budget, it's your peace of mind. Like, a lot of people would tell me when I started my business, so I don't have coaches, you might say it like, you shouldn't talk about budget and, when you're talking about your business. No, for me,
it's all about
so
budget.
Important. Like, I'm not saying I have what do they call that? Like, off-price life insurance. Like, I'm not saying it's any lesser than, right? I'm hoping, what I'm trying to convey to people is that I care about their budget. Like, I want to make sure no matter what, they get life insurance. And so if you can only afford $50 a month in life insurance, then that's what you're going to get. Whatever that buys you, I'll find you the right company that will get you the best coverage for that amount. I am not going to go in there and tell you, well, it's $150 a month. What do you mean you won't pay that? Isn't your wife worth it? That is not my approach.
Right.
Nope, because those people will cancel their life insurance.
But
absolutely.
You got to put the plan together for them.
It's all
those
about
idiots
them.
telling budget. Yeah, damn right. Budget plays into most people's lives.
You have to know you can
everything.
afford something. Yeah, whether you can. Yeah. Oh man, kills me when
That's like when I used to sell cars, and the manager would say their sales process was get their credit score as soon as you can and find out how much car they can buy,
and then push them towards that.
And we did not get along.
Yeah,
because my thing was
loud and clear.
Was, well, what's your budget? Like, I don't care how much car you qualify for.
Yeah,
I want to sell you the car that isn't going to make you not be able to put groceries on the table.
Doesn't that hold true too when you're buying a house?
Oh, absolutely.
Right? I remember that when I would I've bought 2 houses in my lifetime.
Yeah,
and there's a big thing about, on paper, what does the bank say you can afford? Like, hey, go take out all this money from us. And then in reality, when you're hopefully looking at your budget,
what you actually can afford. Right. And I was just having a conversation with a client the other day about, like 30-year mortgages versus 15-year mortgages, and where do you put that money? And I would rather a client, do a 30-year mortgage, take that extra money and buy life insurance with it, because it's a better investment over the long haul than that 15-year policy. So
yeah, budget is important. It will always be important to me. It will be. Yeah, just
when you and I talked the other day, I put you through a grueling 60 minutes interview just to make sure you qualify for our quality podcast. I'm like, Christine, don't worry about nothing. See you at 3, right? Here's another thing most people don't talk about are living benefits.
Right. Yeah, so the living benefits I mentioned a little bit when we talked about disability. So that's something that a lot of people do not know about. It was a big secret in the life insurance industry for decades, okay? Living benefits are built into the policies that I specialize in, and they're critical coverage, chronic coverage, and terminal coverage. Now, almost every life insurance policy has terminal coverage. So if you are diagnosed with a terminal illness, you're going to die within either 6, 12, 18, 24 months, whatever the insurance company has as a guideline. They'll allow you access to your death benefit early. Right? So you can do whatever you need to do with it. Well, critical and chronic, a lot of people can buy critical care separately. They can buy it through their employer, but these are built in. So what that means is, like the example I gave earlier was a heart attack. But let's say you had a heart attack or no, let me start over. Think about this, right? If you're listening, or for the two of you, like, who you probably know someone who's either had a heart attack, had a stroke, has had an invasive cancer diagnosis, but it also covers ALS, blindness due to diabetes, paralysis, renal failure, right? If your kidneys fail and you're on dialysis, there's so many, there's a whole variety of illnesses that are covered, okay? If you get injured and you end up, seriously hurt, okay? And you can't, maybe you end up in a wheelchair, all right? Or you need help transitioning out of bed. You need help transitioning into a chair. Maybe you need help with, maybe you received a head injury. God forbid, right? You were riding on your bike like you normally do and you got hit by a car and you end up with a head injury, right? And you need help with your daily living activities like bathing, eating, transitioning, toileting, medication. If you can't do 2 or more of those after 90 days, the benefit kicks in as well. So there's all these horrible scenarios, but they're real things. They can really happen to people. And regular life insurance only pays you if you die. Living benefits pay you if you live. So if you experience some of those that I, kind of portrayed there, I contact the insurance company within just about a few days, a week's time. They reevaluate your mortality and figure out how much money do you need now to get better and survive and pay your bills. It's huge. It's huge to me. I people try to recruit me all the time to other insurance companies, like, just like a big name and, and sort of like be captive to that company, right? Like,
right.
Right? So I don't want to like name names.
Northwestern Mutual
exactly.
is.
Right.
Yeah.
You sell your products.
Yep.
Like, I don't want to do that because I don't want to go to these brokerage firms or these insurance companies that don't include living benefits because I feel so strongly about it. And my kids, when my kids turn 18, they got term life insurance policies with living benefits in case, God forbid, something happened to them. They'd probably come back home in their earlier years. I'd take care of them. That would afford me time off from work. It would afford them the time for recovery. And then it also gives them a good foundation when they go off in life. My younger daughter has a whole life participating plan. That can be a whole nother conversation, but hers also includes living benefits. And my husband and I added plans that have living benefits. I really believe in it.
At what age should you insure your children? 14
days.
Right.
14 days. I can write life insurance policies at age 14 days, and I strongly, strongly believe in that. I actually just did a video on that on Tuesday on life insurance for children. You can find it on a local business networking group, and you can find it on my business page. But yeah, kids should be insured, and it's not because you want to profit on the death of your child, which is what one of those radio heads I mentioned earlier said once. And I heard that many, many years ago. And it caused me to cancel all 3 of my life insurance policies on my kids because I thought, oh my God, I got life insurance for that reason, which isn't why I got life insurance, but I just knew I was supposed to have life insurance on my kids. So I did. And then I heard this person who I really trusted what they taught. And I immediately canceled all their policies, took the cash value, and I just put in their savings accounts. And then thank God, years later, I figured out that was wrong. And I put life insurance back on my kids. And it's important because God forbid you have to bury a child. It costs a lot of money.
Yeah, it costs the money for the actual funeral, but it's also the money and the time that you take to recover from something. I couldn't imagine losing a child. And the likelihood that you probably wouldn't be able to go back to work right away, and you're going to need time to heal from that. That's
True. But I will say, most insurance policies that people put on their kids is truly to cover that funeral cost and final expense. Okay. But I can tell you that I actually know someone that had that his child passed away and he did not have life insurance on that child, but they did have life insurance on their previous children. They just hadn't gotten around to it. And it cost $15,000 for the final expenses, the child died unexpectedly. So imagine you're calling ambulances, you're trying to save this child. And they didn't have $15,000 to bury their child. They had to, thank God, no one in their immediate family could either, but a distant family member was able to step forward and give them $15,000.
Wow.
Isn't that horrible? I mean, so yes, have life insurance on your children because it's it can be financial devastation on your family, and you should be focusing on love and grief.
The other thing I learned about insuring your kids, and I think Trinity brought this up earlier, it makes them insurable. And I didn't know that till Oliver was born.
Yes.
And just what that meant.
So that's one of my favorite terms to say when I'm talking about life insurance is by putting life insurance on your children when they're at their youngest and their healthiest, you are ensuring their insurability for the future. Yes. And that's like the heart behind it, right? Like I want to put life insurance on my kids now when they're their youngest and their healthiest. So it's super dirt cheap. And if anything happens as far as childhood illnesses, you just don't know what could happen, right? How we could grow up. Sometimes we don't even discover things until kids are like 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, or it's just something could happen. My own brother was hit by a car. He did not die, but he was hit by a car when he was 2. Okay. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, things happen, right? And so what you want to do is put the insurance in place when they're younger so that they have it still when they're older. And I'll tell you, there's a great thing where many of the children's policies that you put in place, they're fantastic. They're only a few dollars a month. And when the child reaches like between 18 and 21, the insurance companies send out about 5 or 6 different notices over the years, the next say 10 years, and they give you the opportunity to buy more life insurance without proving your insurability.
Which is huge.
Yes, and people don't realize that.
Which is huge.
Yes. My own daughter's policy, my daughter has a great policy, and it's a $50,000 policy, and when she turns 18, the death benefit doubles without increasing the premium. Woo! I love that.
Like, yeah, that's awesome.
As soon as that policy came out, I was like, oops, switching up your life insurance. And she was the only one young enough to get into it because that cuts off at 14. But yeah, can you imagine? So she'll have $100,000 in whole life coverage at the age of 18 that she can keep forever.
You're such a good mom.
For $20 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and from personal experience, I bought my first life insurance policy and disability insurance and everything when I was 23. That's when I moved down here and was working at an insurance company. And by age 26, I found out I had skin cancer.
Oh, wow.
And I was no longer insurable for 6 years because you have to be cancer-free for 5 years before anyone will even look at you for health insurance or life insurance. And I was so grateful that I had put my plans in place at such a young age.
When you were at your youngest and your healthiest.
Yes, because if somebody would have told me that at 23 that I was going to have skin cancer at 26, I would have thought they were crazy. But I did live the first part of my life in a tanning bed, so kind of, yeah.
That's an anti-plug.
Well, that's what they do in
no
Michigan
tanning beds.
In the wintertime, they go to the tanning beds. So
there's a tanning bed on every single corner. My best guy friend had a tanning bed in their basement, so I would actually tan twice. I would go while he was at football practice and before volleyball practice, I would go tan at his house, and then I would go after volleyball practice with my girlfriends.
I was always too afraid to ever use a tanning bed, although I did grow up on the beach, and I've looked like a lobster for most of my life because it was really cool to burn and then peel off your bathing suit strap and see how white you were underneath. But my mother worked for a dermatologist for like 30 years. And so it was like ingrained. So even we didn't learn back then quite yet like about the sunblock on the beach, and you could still tan. So I still was using like 8 and 4 at the beach and still allowed myself to burn a few times, but I was too afraid because I could see, what would happen with skin cancer. So no tanning beds for this pale girl.
That's why you don't have any wrinkles.
Oh, thank you. So it's not because of my skincare routine, which is like,
well, part of
I can do another plug.
Part of that is your skincare routine is staying out of the sun and not letting yourself get burnt. And,
I wear baseball caps a lot.
There's a lot of people my age that I meet that I am shocked because I think that they're 10 years older than I am. And it is a lot of it is just excessive sun exposure.
Yeah.
But I digress.
Yep.
We did digress.
Yeah, that's all right.
For
Sometimes
my
we get off.
kind, all right?
For your kind? As in like the male persuasion or
Well,
what
just
kind?
anybody carrying a pacemaker in them.
Oh, yeah. I see. I wasn't going to bring that up, but I knew about that.
Oh,
we had talked.
Best $17,000 I ever spent.
Yeah.
But my conversations
Living benefits could have
change.
helped you pay that. Anyways.
Yeah. My conversations changed quickly when I tell people, they're like, oh, here's how it was explained to me. Because I'm telling them, this isn't quite keeping me alive because I could live without it, but it would keep me alive while I'm driving my car next to you on 540. That's what's keeping everybody alive, right? It is explained to me they're insuring. What if it stops? What if the pacemaker after 6 years and you've used 100% and it stops? That's why they do. It's what explained to me why there's an issue insuring me.
Well, you can get insurance if you have a pacemaker.
Oh, I can get anything I want at triple or quadruple the price.
Not necessarily, but yes, you can get life insurance. There are plenty of companies out there that wouldn't cover you. But one thing I think that's neat is when you do have a pacemaker and you have to go in for surgery to have the battery replaced, the insurance company doesn't care. Like, it's okay. Like if you, say you had the pacemaker in 10 years ago, but 2 years ago you had surgery, it's not considered heart surgery, which is really cool.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. So, I mean, they do give, one thing about insurance companies, they do get a bad rap, but, there's a lot of times where they're really not out to screw you. When I talk about the living benefits, if they make a payout to you for living benefits and your death benefit drops down, they actually lower your monthly payment to equal the new death benefit. And I say to people, they're not out to get you. So I think, that's an example with a pacemaker. Most insurance companies won't ding you if a couple years ago you had a battery replaced. They don't, it's okay, Mike. There's ways.
Well, I'm looking for them. And my family
we can talk.
refuses to let me call it major surgery. They call it a procedure, which is what people call everything that doesn't happen to them. Okay, that's what a procedure is.
I think anything to do with my heart, I would consider major.
That's kind of what I thought, and I didn't get squat.
Anytime they put you under, I consider that a major surgery because anything can go wrong.
Oh, yeah. But we'll talk later about the pacemakers, but it did change everything.
I've already looked into it for you.
Thank you. So let's go back to the spouse of the small business owner.
Okay.
If you are talking to them right now, what are you telling them? They're the spouse of the business owner.
Well, when I talk to anyone, whether they're a spouse of a business owner or not, but we'll talk about spouses of business owners.
Talk to the spouse. Tell them what
I want to make sure they have a will, right? I want to make sure that that they've got an estate plan for their family, if they have children, and all of these things need to include what's going to happen to the business if the other spouse, who is the person in the business, dies. And I can't tell you how many times, Mike, I do sit down with small business owners. I actually had a couple of these conversations on the phone this week. What happens if you die to the business? And most of them, Mike, tell me, I'm not sure yet. I don't know. I literally had that conversation with someone. Big business, very successful company, has been in business for years, but couldn't answer that question. And luckily, it caused them a lot of concern and stress. So they immediately, I was like, we're on the phone right now, and I'm telling you right now, while we're on the phone, start typing the email to your lawyer. Because you need to start talking to your lawyer, you need to talk to your spouse, you need to talk to the grown kids, you got to get a plan in place. So,
and imagine that annual number they'd have to cover if their company's been around a while and successful.
Yeah, payroll and warehouses and rent.
And just the revenue or the income for the spouse. That's probably not.
That goes away too.
That might have a couple more zeros in it, and so it's even more that you're like, oh, I know you're used to living off $250,000, but I got a $50,000 policy. I love you.
And so many people do that. When you start a business, you really need to think long term. Right? Because we want to assume we're going to be successful. But if we're going to be successful and there's going to be a partner, or and what I mean is a life partner, or a spouse, then you've got to have these decisions in the beginning. I don't care if you're 23 years old and you're getting married. If he owns a home inspection business, you need to have a plan in place that if he dies, what happens to the business? And if I want to keep that business going, or he gets a partner, we need life insurance that's going to allow that business to continue, or for that business partner to pay me to buy my half of the business back. And then that gives the spouse the life insurance they need, right? So if my half of the business is $1 million and the other partner has a $1 million policy on my husband, when my husband dies, the business partner gets the $1 million, and then they pay me the $1 million to get the business.
Right.
So now I have my $1 million in life insurance that I needed for my husband, and his business partner has
the business.
And everybody, we're not happy, because someone died. But at least we can move forward and things would be the way they should be.
Less stressful.
Yeah.
During a very hard time.
Yep. Absolutely.
Well, this is a conversation near and dear to my heart. I can't believe that you teared up it
Oh,
made
shut
me almost.
up.
It made me almost
Now she's
tear
going
up.
to tear up about tearing up.
I
because
cry so easily.
So do
Oh.
I. I'm a crier,
Oh.
and I think that you are so genuine and you truly care, and that is what is so vitally important in finding a really good advisor. So
Well, thanks.
I'm giving you a hug right
Thanks.
now. A virtual
COVID hug.
Thanks for
hug.
telling everybody I teared up. But when you're talking about,
I'm a sympathy crier.
Yeah,
so
so
I
am
couldn't
I,
even
and
look at you. I
get very emotional when I talk about life insurance and
Good.
good thing it's been virtual lately, because sometimes I'm crying because I'm upset for the wife who doesn't know the husband won't get the life insurance that he can really afford.
right.
Because, he doesn't think he needs it.
I'm not going to die.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah. So for all you 40-year-old smoking males out there, please talk to me before you're 50, as soon as possible, and stop smoking. But
That's another podcast about the smoking. Just keep smoking. Just get life insurance.
I'll get you great rates no matter what. But,
There you go.
Well, it has been a pleasure, as always. We love chatting with you. I'm sure that we'll have you back on at some time in the future. If anybody wants to get a hold of you, what is your best contact information?
So anyone can reach out to me. And this means I just want to say this really quick. They can contact me not because they just want to buy a policy, but if they have questions, need to understand what they have in place or what their parents have in place, don't hesitate to call me. It doesn't cost anything to talk to me. I will help you. You can reach me at walorztina@gmail.com. It's WALORZTINA@gmail.com or walorzinsurance.com, or you can find my Facebook page.
Perfect. And if you want to find us, the business coaches, the Mike Manning with the whistle and the shorts and the tank top.
When your face ends up on the side of a bus, I will wear Coach's shorts.
I am making this happen. I want to see those little legs with
Boy, I
in
used to
all
have
their
good
glory,
legs too.
in all their
I used to have an
glory.
ass too. I don't have that
Oh,
anymore.
jeez,
So,
creepers.
But yes, if you want to find us,
Yeah,
you can
sad.
find us on all of the places that you would normally find people: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We're even on Twitter. We don't tweet, but we're there.
I do a couple times a week for the podcast.
Oh, okay. So Mike tweets.
Yeah.
You know what they call a tweet in the past?
Oh, God.
A twat. Was that just too bad?
It helps that well, no, this helps because I edit the podcast.
It just gets edited out? Okay, good.
If I so choose, yes.
I wish I had said how nice and neat you said it, though. I should have just said, you can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and other social media platforms. But
Yes.
I didn't.
Was
Instead,
that
I
joke-
spelled my last
Was that
name.
too bad for air? Okay. All right.
Doesn't bother me. I'm used to you.
it was a bad joke, though.
It was a bad joke, but hey, what's life without a bad joke now and then? And please like us, subscribe, share away. We are super excited. We're starting to get fan mail.
Ooh.
So for those of you that are reaching out to us and and sending us emails and reaching out, I'm just having a blast getting to know a bunch of our listeners, and it's super fun.
Awesome.
And thank you, Christine. And we'll see everybody next time on our Wired to Change podcast.